what I'm getting ready to do now is make my cornbread. Now, this cornbread that I'm making here is, some of it can be eaten if Steve wants to, but basically I'm making this cornbread because Thanksgiving is coming up, and I use cornbread to make my stuffing. So what I try to do is get things done ahead of time, and to put the stuff, if I get the cornbread made, then I can put it into the freezer and freeze it. So when it comes time to make my stuffing, I don't have to worry about making cornbread to go with it. And that's the whole part of making dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, is you don't want to wear yourself out trying to cook everything at once. And you will do that if you wait and do it all at the last minute. So I've added my cornmeal and my flour, and I'm just stirring it around until it comes together. So to this, I'm going to add 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So let's go to the teaspoons. I'm going to put 3.5. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll need to add a half, which is right here. And you can use this little lever right here to scrape you so that you don't get over. 3.5. Okay, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. I usually use the Morton salt because it's just easier. The other one is really chunked, and I just like using this one. So a teaspoon of that. There, and I'm going to mix it around so that it comes together. And you can see. Okay, so this says to add 2/3 cup of sugar. Usually when I'm making cornbread for stuffing, I don't like to put a lot of sugar because I don't like it really sweet. Because if that's the case, then I could use cinch. So, I'm going to stir this around. Like so. And then what I'm going to add to this is my cup of milk. And you can use milk, you can use buttermilk, sweet milk, and sometimes I just use regular water because it works the same. And I'm a shy cup off, so I'm going to put a little water just to make sure. And I have a cup. I'm going to pour that in. Then I'm going to pour in my butter. You can put in butter or you can use shortening. I'm using, it says 1/3 cup of butter, which is about right. So, I have everything in here, all of my ingredients, except for the egg. So what I'm going to do is just kind of stir this around a little, and then I'm going to add the egg. One thing about eggs, if you're using brown eggs, which sometimes even these eggs, I prefer to break them into a container because you never know what you're going to get with brown eggs. So, what I'm going to do is just stir this around until it's all mixed together with my spoon. Now, in your skillet, you can melt grease in it if you'd like, or I usually pour mine, spray mine, instead of using the grease. Let's get that real mixed up. There we go. So, to my pan, which is my faithful cast iron skillet. And yes, it's been seasoned over and over again. So I'm going to spray my skillet with non-stick spray. Or as I said, you can use put shortening in there and melt it. Just any kind of way you want to do it. So I'm going to pour all of this in here. And I have my oven set to 400. It's all ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put it in at 400, and when it gets ready, I'll be back. Okay, so it's time to get our cornbread out of the oven. Let's take it out. It's all nice and brown. There we go. So, this is our cornbread. And like I said, you can eat it. If you're making it to eat, make sure you rub butter on top of it, and it's just delicious. So what I'm going to use this cornbread for is to make my stuffing. And as I said, if there's any recipes that you'd like to have me cook, or you want me to go over with you, just go ahead and put it in the comments section below. So there it is. Nice, delicious cornbread. So it's been requested that I do some hot water cornbread. So usually I do this just from memory, but I'm going to try to give you some measurements just so that it doesn't come out, that it comes out pretty good. So to this I'm going to add a cup of cornmeal. And most of the times hot water cornbread doesn't really have flour in it, but I usually put a little bit in there just to kind of bind it, and then not really bind it, but just kind of. So I'm going to put like a half a cup of flour to this. There we go. And I'm probably going to use about a teaspoon, maybe a half a teaspoon of salt. And I add about half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now the original hot water cornbread that my mom used to make, it was nothing but cornmeal. But it's like different. It's a different kind of way that you put it together. So let's put that there. Let's get a spoon. Where are you, spoon? Let's get a spoon from here. Okay, so I have all my ingredients in here. I don't put any eggs or any of that other stuff. So I'm just stirring it around. Now the secret to this cornbread is the hot water. So I put my tea kettle on, and as you can see, my water is really hot. When I say hot, I mean scalding hot. So I'm going to add hot water to the mix, and you have to make sure your water's hot so that it kind of scalds the flour. So let's just mix that in. Boy, this bowl is hot too. I forgot this kind of bowl retains heat. So what you're going to do is you're going to mix it around and until it becomes the consistency of what maybe a thick biscuit dough. So I'm mixing it right here. And as you can see, it's very hot. There. And you just mix it like that. Now, when you get ready to cook this, I have my skillet over there. Okay, I have my skillet over here, and I have grease in it. It's been getting hot because this is more of a fry bread. So let me get another spoon because I don't think that's going to be spoon enough to So as you can see, my cornmeal is really hot. You can see the steam coming from it. So what I'm going to do is scoop out a scoop of the mixture. Turn this down a little bit. It has a tendency to cook well. And I'm just going to scoop it into the hot oil. And then just kind of shape it like that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to cook up to a nice crispy bread, but yet it's still soft in the middle. One thing I love hot water cornbread with, I like it with greens and beans and all that other stuff, but I really, really just like it with cooked and split it in the middle and put some butter in it and some jelly. Yeah, and then you just let them cook. So I'm just going to let that cook its way until it's time to flip. Okay, so what you can see is I'm starting to flip it because it's starting to get brown. And then you just flip it over and you just cook the other side. Let me move you close so that you can see. That's what it looks like after it's been flipped. So I'm just going to keep on frying this up and I'll be back when it's all done. Okay, so I fried up my first batch. So I have just a little bit left in here. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop that in. And let it start to fry. And the only other person I ever heard cook hot water cornbread, I'm pretty sure there's others, but the only person I ever heard of cooking hot water cornbread in a recipe on TV was Oprah. And she did it like this. Okay, so we're going to let those cook. Okay, so my hot water cornbread is ready. This is it, and this one I'll be eating with my red beans and rice. So what I'm going to do is take one of the breads that I've cooked, and I'm going to give it a little slit, just to kind of cut it. And it's a real dense bread. So I'm going to add some butter, because everything's better with butter. Let's put it inside of there. And then what I'm going to add to that is some pear jelly from Delicious Jams and Jellies. This is a jelly that I make on my website. It's called deliciousjamsandjellies.com. And you can go on. I think I have some summer flavors left, but it's like I always use fresh fruit. So after the fruit goes away, the jelly goes away. So I'm going to try this with some of my delicious pear jelly. And I have more than just pear jelly on the site. I have various different kinds that I've been making. So you can go on and you can try it. So let's try this cornbread. Because I tell you, I love hot water cornbread. It's real fluffy inside. The crunchy, it's fluffy inside and then has the crunchiness of the outside. And the pear jelly with it, it's just fantastic. Oh, you can go on, as I said, to deliciousjamsandjellies.com, and I have some flavors left. I think I have some sour cherry left, some pear, some pomegranate, and a couple of other flavors. So you're welcome to go on if you'd like. Browse around if there's anything on there that you'd like to buy. you can do that and I'll ship it to you. So that's going to end this video for the cornbread, and I will be back with the red beans and rice. Thank you guys for supporting. Let's cook it up and explore. And also, if there's any recipes that you want made for the holiday and you want me to make it for you so that you can see how it's made, let me know. I'm going to be making some buttermilk pie, cheesecake, and some cakes. So thank you for watching.